Welcome to Team Perry's Step Out of Line podcast, featuring co-hosts Perry and Lori Finkelstein. Together, they explore, meet, and share inspirational stories with guests who have made a positive impact in today's world. This podcast resonates with our hope to make this world a better place one step at a time through love, acceptance, and uplifting conversations.
I think the way that I have stepped out of line personally is by just being authentically myself and trying to show the world what people with disabilities are capable of. Because I think you guys know there are like several misconceptions and stereotypes about people with disabilities, and I think by sharing my life on social media and by participating in the things that I do, I just try to be a part of things that are creating real change, and just by being myself and showing the world what I can do and what we all can do.
So were you always like that? I know Perry's grown into that. She didn't have that years ago. I think really like becoming an adult helped her.
I definitely grew into it as well. I'm the oldest child, so I was like the rule follower and kind of like by the book on everything. My younger sister was always the one who was the challenger and the one who was stepping out of line at a young age. I like have grown to admire that about her. But when I became disabled, I realized that, I needed to have some of that to advocate for myself and to advocate for others because, the world isn't set up for us. So I really had to learn how to like speak up for myself, starting with doctor's appointments. And when I went back to college, I had to speak up for myself and with my teachers and my classes and everything. And then I just kind of really grew into myself and realized what I wanted to be.
You were 20 years old when you got hurt and you became
Yeah.
paralyzed and you were in college. How long did you have to take off before you were able to get back? And did you go to the same school or you stayed more local? What did that look like for you?
Initially, they told me I was going to have to take a year off. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to take a semester. And they were like, what? Like, I don't know. And I was like, no, I'm going to go back. So I spent about 2 months in a hospital setting in New Jersey. I was at a rehab facility. And then I came back to Ohio, where I grew up and where my family's from. And I spent the next 3-4 months there doing outpatient physical therapy. And really, up until the last like couple weeks, everyone was like, oh, I don't know if you'll be able to go back. But I was like, no, I'm going back to school because that's where my friends are, that's where my support is. And I ended up going back that January. So that was pretty satisfying to accomplish, even though I did end up having to come right back home 2 months later for the quarantine.
When you went back to school, did you have an aide with you? Who helped you physically do everything that you had to do?
So I was living alone, but I was a lot less independent than I am now. So my boyfriend was helping me with a lot of things, like just the adjustment period, I think, was longer, which was why I think they didn't think I would be able to go back. But I was very determined, and it worked. We made it work.
How did your mindset change before the accident and then after the accident and then now you still feel like I was born with a disability, but you were not. So how has that changed your mentality?
My mindset really changed, I think, in a lot of ways. I really had to become more persevering. And I was always kind of a strong willed individual, but I think really after the accident, I had to kind of grow up and I took on a lot of roles in my family. I kind of became like everybody's support system. And just in general, I've learned that, if you want to do something, you just do it. Or it might be too late. By the time you actually want to do it, you don't want to look back and regret anything. And also making the most of what you have. because I grew up non-disabled, and honestly, I never really gave a thought to what living with a disability was like. And then all of a sudden I was. So I wish I had given more thought to it, because I think it would have made me more of an empathetic person. But now I have that worldview of people with different experiences, and the resilience of this community is really empowering and inspiring.
What did you want to be when you were younger? An actor or a dancer, which is what you do. Was that always your dream? Did it change after your accident?
When I was young, I did always want to be an actor and performer. And I really wanted to be like on Broadway and in theater. But my parents always wanted me to have like a backup plan, like a stable, education, something to fall back on. I majored in psychology, so I was like, okay, I could really see myself as a therapist as well, because I'm passionate about helping people and connecting with people. But I really stuck with theater. Like, I never could really pull myself away from it. And then after my accident, I kind of just realized that life is too short to not do what you love to do and what sets your soul on fire. So I decided to make the move to LA and join the Rollettes. And now I'm out here pursuing my dreams, which is really cool.
When you go to acting job, do people look at you as, oh, here, she's a disabled actor, or this is an actor who just happens to be in a wheelchair?
I see both. And it kind of depends on the job. A lot of like commercial jobs, when they post their casting notice, they want someone specifically with a disability. And you're like, are they just trying to fill a quota, like their diversity quota, or do they really want somebody for, whatever the purpose of the commercial is? And it's kind of a hard thing to wrestle with, because like I don't want to enable that in any way, because they should want to include us, for us, not because they're checking a box. But usually, if it's a good opportunity, I'm like, there are a chance that a lot of people could see this and it could change their minds about people with disabilities, people who use wheelchairs. And so usually, like, sometimes you have to take those jobs to take a step in the right direction, for lack of a better term, in the industry. But I can always tell the people who see me versus see the wheelchair. It's usually very obvious.
I know Perry has that like radar. He could vet anybody, within seconds.
How did you hear of or find the Rollettes?
So it was social media, actually. It was funny because my college roommate, when I was in the hospital, she sent me Chelsea Hill's page. And I was like, oh, like, that's really cool. She's a dancer, and then I kind of didn't really think about it anymore. And then when we were all home for the quarantine, I had been following her for a while, and I saw that they were doing online dance classes. So I was like, ooh. I was like, oh, I don't know how that would go for me. But then I was like, whatever, it's free. I'll just do it.
Right.
And, I tried my hand at learning the choreography, and, it was clunky at first, because I really had to learn how to like move myself in a different way. But I saw that as a challenge. And so I started taking her classes online and, learning more about the other girls on the team by following them. And then I ended up doing private lessons with Chelsea that fall, because I really wanted to be better, for any future opportunities I might have in theater or whatever. And that was when, she found out about me. And then she was like, when are you moving to LA? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. But then I ultimately decided that that was the next move for me.
As a Rolette, you have a platform. Having the support of a group of friends like that, how does that feel like? Because Perry really doesn't have so many people like herself.
It makes a world of difference. It really does. I think about this all the time, how fortunate I am to have this community so accessible to me, because, I think about when I was living at home before I moved out to California, and I didn't have any friends who, understood the struggle of living with a disability. And I had friends who tried to empathize with me and tried to support me as best they could, and I do appreciate that, but it's not the same as living it every day. So when I got connected with the girls, it was like, I don't know. I think I really became so much more confident and I learned so much, like little tricks, that I wouldn't have thought of before because they have they have the ways that they teach you to do things in physical therapy. And then I come here and the girls are like, "Oh, you don't have to do it like that. It's so much easier if you do it like this." You know? And so it's just nice to have people who get it and to like bounce ideas off of in that way. And I'm glad that we, at least provide that to girls and women once a year with our Rollettes experience. It's really cool to like look out and see everybody meeting each other and the parents are able to connect with each other and it's one of my favorite weekends of the year because we get to see how much the community and the support of each other like makes a difference for these girls.
It's interesting because I always wonder about that question. If you're born disabled and that's who you are, you know nothing else. But if you had the luxury, let's say, of living a life and then it happened, it's totally different. Do you think that because of the position that you and Perry both are in life, that your strengths become even more exaggerated and override any weakness that you might have? You might not, of course, you would never be this person you are had you never had this accident happen to you. But now it's like you have these superpowers when all of a sudden everything that good about you gets even better. Do you feel that way? Because I feel that way about her for sure.
I mean, I think the more that we put ourselves out there and advocate for ourselves in certain situations and every time we make a post, somebody new can see it. And somebody new who may never have seen someone with a disability before other than like on a medical show or something and be like, "Oh, I never thought about it like that." And that's really my goal and I'm assuming that's what you guys want to do with your podcast and everything that you're doing. Like we just want to change the way people see us.
Ali Stroker. We also interviewed her, and she said something very interesting that I took note of. She felt like she couldn't speak for the disabled community, but here she's given this platform and has this voice, and she can't not speak at that point.
Mhm.
So she just hopes that what she does is the best that she can do. Do you feel that way also? You're speaking for, let's say, a community, but
Right.
is it daunting?
It is, especially because I know that I have a lot of privilege as somebody who didn't grow up with a disability. I hate to say it, but there are people who have certain ideas about what disability looks like. And I don't really fit into that mold because to them, I look like a quote unquote normal person who's just sitting down in a wheelchair. It is daunting and stressful. I never want to say anything wrong. And I don't want to take away from the experiences of people who have grown up with their disabilities. But I can only hope that with the platform I have, I can give voice to somebody else and kind of share the spotlight in that way, just to like use my light to shine on other people's experiences and other people's, lives because everybody's disability is different and I would love to see more variety of disability in TV and film instead of just like somebody with a spinal cord injury. I would love to see a power chair user, and I want to see everything because that's what we see every day.
What do you want to do, let's say 5 years from now? Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself?
I'd love to be on a series, leading a series where my character, the disability is part of her, but it's not the whole part of her. Yeah, I want to see somebody with multifacets in her life, multiple relationships, multiple interests and hobbies. And I think TV is really missing something like that.
And to be able to translate that into, that medium and show everybody this is just such a normal thing. Because to us, this is normal. This is a normal life, and it's not extraordinary. Do you ever have people come over and they say like, "Oh, God bless you," or "You're
Yes.
beautiful," and Perry cringes from it. She hates it. Like, you don't know me. You don't know if I've done anything that's like amazing. Why
Right.
am I amazing? Because I'm breathing.
I'm an inspiration. I don't know.
Well, because
Yeah.
disability doesn't mean you're inspiring the entire world. You're just trying to
Mhm.
live life.
You're preaching to the choir, girl.
TikTok, the wheelchair man. that little man that wore that with a
Yeah.
monster mask. If there was going to be a part two to the video, what would you put in it next time?
I thought about putting something in there about, like, skipping the lines at Disney.
And everybody all of a sudden being your best friend and wanting to
Yeah.
you there.
The perks, right.
Terry got a GoPro camera and she got a special mount. And now she's filming when we go out, her perspective on moving. And it's really extraordinary. People still fall into her wheelchair while she's walking, like we went to New York City.
Yeah.
And everybody was like falling on her, but now at least she recorded it.
It's amazing how many people are not aware of their surroundings. They just don't know what is around them. It's crazy to me. Like, sometimes we'll be out, like, at a bar or, even out at, like, a bit like Disney or somewhere busy, and people are, like, running into me, like you guys said. Like, they're, like, tripping over me, or, like, a kid runs out in front of me. I'm like, "Why is nobody looking where they're walking?"